take us through a little bit of a high-level process of how you would approach relationship building to accelerate business growth. I think that would be for entrepreneurs and CMOs.
I'm happy to do it. Great question. You're exactly right. My most seminal work is a book called Relationship Economics. And I'm about to write the 3rd edition of this book. We've sold about 500,000 copies of it. And I talk about how to be more intentional, Jeff, how to be more strategic, and how to be more quantifiable in the relationships you choose to invest in.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right. And the first chapter is top 10 reasons most networking doesn't work, because there's no purpose, there's no goal, there's no plan. So as I go into an organization, we talked about earlier, the relationship is always with an individual. So I typically work with P&L leaders, or I typically work with the CEO of that hyper growth company. And we get very focused on, tell me the outcomes you're after. And unfortunately, when it comes to relationships, a lot of people confuse output, what you do and how you do it, with outcome, which is the result, the outcome, the business outcome we're after. And you would get a chuckle out of this, and probably so will your audience. I asked one executive, tell me about your priorities, tell me what you're trying to do. And he said, we've got 69 priorities. And I said, respectfully, you have no priorities, right? So we come up with typically 2 or 3 that they're really focused on. And then this process, I think, could be very relevant to almost any size company, any size organization. You start with the end in mind. Here's the outcome I'm after. The next series of questions, the next series of steps we go through is, okay, who do we need? Now, I had a chance to meet Jim Collins of the Good to Great fame, and I love his ask more who questions. And I don't think we do that. When we're faced with a challenge or an opportunity, we ask a lot of questions around what should we do and how should we do it. We don't ask enough who questions. So I take that idea one step further. Who do we need? There are no new challenges. There are no new problems. The only new challenges are the ones you haven't thought of. So we get very granular in identifying who else has seen this problem, who else has solved this problem, who else has addressed this challenge or opportunity. Next, and let's kind of identify these individuals, figure out who do we need. Next, we really focus on who do we know? Who do we already know? Who already knows us, likes us, trusts us, customers, partners, investors? Who's in our existing, what we call your relationship bank? Next is that by the way, could facilitate an introduction, could walk us in the door, could accelerate our ability to get to the person we need, to get to the outcome we need. And the entire process is predicated by what I call your relationship currency deposits. So what can I do? How can I invest in an existing relationship that will create access to or an opportunity with the relationship I need to then accelerate my ability to get to the outcome I'm after? Now, at this point, it's really important to convey to your audience, my job isn't to manipulate anybody. My job, I'm not trying to teach anybody how to use people. That's not it. The fundamental data, empirical data that we have is any goal. You throw enough time, money, effort, resources at it, you'll eventually get there. One of the most undervalued assets in any organization is, how do I leverage relationships, never use, but leverage relationships to get there in fraction of the time, at fraction of the cost, at fraction of the effort that it takes. So if, let's just say you're trying to recruit a really talented person. If it takes you 6 months, in the current market, if it takes you a year to find that person, what's the value of me helping you leverage your relationships to find that person in a month or 3 months, right? So that time to impact, that time to result is something we've proven relationships can actually deliver. And we've built something called a strategic relationship planning, SRP process, that takes every goal, every challenge through those 4 or 5 steps. And in the words of the famed philosopher, Britney Spears, none of this is rocket surgery, right? None of this is that complicated. You just have to be incredibly diligent, and you got to be data-driven. You got to be focused, and you have to create value with your existing relationships who will then open up doors, who will then create access to the relationships you need to get things done.